Well, let me go to another part. Let me go to another part and speak concerning this matter. As we were growing up, I'm going to show you what made me and my mother had gotten food from the city dump. We had gotten food from the city dump, brought it home. Our mother, I take that back. And my mother was spoiled chicken, and she said us rather, and she said a prayer, thank God for the blessing that we was about to receive. After we moved from that part of the plantation, and I say to you right now, there was another form of intimidation that was placed on my brother Willie, where the man who was living on his farm tried to intimidate Willie to work on Saturdays. He came to my mother this Saturday and he said to my mother, we were staying out of school. We wasn't even going to school when we supposed to be in school. Willie had worked all that week sitting on his planters, keeping the seeds, cotton seed planters, strode around in each planter while he drive this here farm tractor planting his cotton. Did this all week. Once he got his cotton planted, then he came to my mother wanting Willie to work on Saturdays. Willie was a young child. I don't know his age, but I know I was about 6 or 7 years old. Willie's probably about 4 years older than I am because there's another sibling between the two of us. He came, and let me make sure I iterate this. He was the oldest of the three of us young boys. We was about a year and a half separates our age together. He came to my mother and asked my mother, can Willie work on Saturdays? But my mother told him that Willie had been working all week. He should be tired, and he, a little child. We need our rest during the due process of our growing. He regarded not this child could have been tired, that he needed rest, but because he's a little black boy of the black race. I got to say it because this is the true facts, how we came up. The man was named Carl Uzippi. He asked my mother, could Willie work with him that Saturday? She said, I don't. She told him about he had worked all week. And she said, well, I tell you what, I asked Willie. And if Willie say he want to work, he can work. But if he say he don't want to work, I'm not going to let him work with you this Saturday. Well, she called Willie around there. And she said, do you want to work with Mr. Carl Uzippi today? Willie said, no, ma'am. She said, well, he don't want to work with you today. So I can't let him work. My mother worked hard for these people and did all she can, poured her heart and soul out, and we did the same. But at that time, when Willie said he didn't want to work, she had to respect the wishes of Willie. But the white man, whoever he was, they called him Dago, or he felt disrespected because Willie refused to work with him on Saturday, which the man was wrong. He went down to the house and he was irritated by what Willie had to turn him down and didn't want to work with him this Saturday. This is the truth. This is a part of America that people don't understand. These are the tribulations we go through. So I want to bring it on up to where we are today. He came back down there about an hour later and told my mother he wanted to whoop with her. She said, "Why you want to whoop my son?" He said, "Because he done came down and knocked over that seed planter." But my mother, hey, what, did you go down there and knock down Mr. Carr, you zip his seed planter? He said, "No, ma'am, I ain't been down there. Been in the house playing with the rest of the children." She said, "Well, why?" He said, "Why did he knock down the seed planter?" He said, "Because he got mad because I wanted him to work." Well, did you see him knock it down? No. No, he said, "No, but he came down and knocked it down." Well, she said, "You didn't see him come down and knock it down. He didn't come down and knock your seat planter down." Other words, he wanted to fabricate a lie on my brother and thought my mother was foolish enough to put her son in the hands of this white man and allow him to whoop this child because he refused to work with him on Saturday. What if my mother had a foolish mind, like so many other church people did, and allowed this man to whoop our child? He would have brutalized his child, forced an intimidation on this child to make him fear him. This is truth. I'm not lying. Later on, my mother didn't let him whoop her child. She moved off that plantation, and this was the wheel that drove us to Pine Bluff, Arkansas. My mother was forced off the plantation because of the brutality that the peoples tried to impose on her to try to intimidate those young black children. My mother didn't have but a second or third grade education, but she had common wisdom to not to let anybody force an intimidation upon her child, to intimidate him to serve somebody who was not their authority. After moving to Pine Bluff, my mother had to take the low road and try to overcome these adversities that plagued her all through her youth and plagued her through the upbringing of her children. She had at that time about 10 children, but the burden of responsibility lied with her mother because the men's never was around us that got us by them. She had 8 children by my father, 2 by somebody else. Who was our stepfather. So in doing these things, she had to move and she had to think more wisely than she did when she's on the farm. Travel to and fro. That's where we was introduced to the Allen Planting Company. Coming from Pine Bluff, going down and picking cotton chop, because the peoples in Pine Bluff were the same thing as the peoples was on the farm. Well, in Pine Bluff, most of Pine Bluff had dirt streets. My mother taken, and she would buy hogs. She would have a chicken. And she found this house on 12th Street where she paid $12 a month for rent. She ended up moving from that house and moving to Redbud Street. Well, Redbud Street was not a street. It was just a little trail-like street where you go down in the woods like in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. So she got there and said, "Well, I'm going to settle here and raise me some hogs and raise me some chickens." And she did this. My brother had an old car. He would get stuck coming down home to our house, and we would have to get